Hi folks, welcome to the Prepared Homestead. This is Travis. Thank you all for stopping by to watch. I've been busy this morning doing a lot of work outside and sat down and checked the news, and a lot of stuff's happening today overseas, as most of you are aware of it. So we're going to get into that here in just a minute, and maybe a few other things. I do want to mention, I tell you folks that if you're hosting or you know of a local meeting of prepper, homesteader, or something like that, to let me know and I'll go ahead and promote it. So I do want to mention a couple of meetings that are going on in places other than where I live. The first one is in Selma, Colorado, which is about 30-45 minutes east of Colorado Springs. They're having a meeting on September 4th from noon to 4 p.m. There'll be an email popping up below here. And you can email this person, ask about details to this meeting. And if you live anywhere in that area, in this Selma, Colorado area, I would encourage you to try to make this meeting. It's a good way to learn whatever they're talking about, but also, and most importantly, to meet others in your area so that you can connect with them and start building kind of a community. Another one I've mentioned before, it's in DeSoto, Missouri. I don't have the date on this. I'm sorry. I did, and I cannot find it. So I apologize. I do know that it's in September, but the email should be popping up for that one too. hopefulhomesteaders@protonmail.com. If you live in the DeSoto, Missouri area, which is just outside of St. Louis, certainly try to get a hold of this person and find out the details of it and try to attend that meeting. I know there's been some response from the first time that I mentioned that meeting up in the DeSoto area. So it's close enough. If you live over the state line in Illinois, maybe in Kentucky, it might be worth it for you to drive over and attend this meeting and see what's going on and meet others of like mind. So, in case you haven't heard, there's been at least two and possibly more, because by the time you see this, there may have been more, bombings at the Kabul airport in Afghanistan. They're blaming it on ISIS-K, which is a branch of ISIS that is in Afghanistan. Apparently, there have been at least 4 Marines killed, some others injured. Approximately 40 other Afghanistan people have been killed and about 120 injured. And from what I was reading, that of that 120 injured, that there's some pretty serious injuries in that. And I'm not going to put any pictures or video up on it. There's a lot out there, and they're quite graphic. It's very horrifying what's happened. And just remember these folks in prayer. There's families, regardless, obviously there's American soldiers there, and so we should lift them up and their families. But also this other people. Just because they're not Americans doesn't mean they don't matter. People have died and people are injured, and it's chaotic, and it's most likely going to continue to happen, which is what the State Department is saying. They're saying that they expect more of this. And just before I started recording, they were talking about another potential bombing. They had some credible threats at another gate, and that's where the first ones happened, was at one of the gates where they are shuffling in people to evacuate them. This is exactly what all of us have figured was probably going to happen. We've got an administration that, on appearance, doesn't have a clue what they're doing. It was announced today, shortly after all this, that the White House is putting a lid on the day. They're calling it a day. They've done for the day. They're going home. They're taking a break. That would be a good job to have. I'm telling you, to have a job that when things get rough, you just call it good. I know things are crazy at the office right now. The business is falling apart, but I'm just going to go home for the day. The State Department's doing the same thing, basically. They announced that they'll be doing no press conferences, no press releases, nothing for the rest of the day. They're giving the appearance that they're just in shambles and that they don't know what to do. And maybe that is the case. I've said all along that I have a suspicion, and I don't have any evidence to back this up. But I've said all along that I feel that the chaos that is happening in Afghanistan is being done on purpose. I'm not saying that we have really competent leadership. That's not it. Yes, there's definitely some incompetent people in office and people surrounding them. I fully believe that. But I'm having a hard time believing that all of this is happening, and the way they're handling it and the way that they're communicating with people is just because they're just in over their head. Certainly not everyone is in over their head. Certainly not every military leader in general. Certainly not every advisor. So my gut is telling me that there's more going on. Now, I don't have it all figured out yet. I don't know exactly why. I have some suspicions. But there's definitely, in my opinion, there's definitely some orchestration of this. I know that one reporter, Jack Posobiec, if any of you follow this guy, some people don't like him. If you look him up online, there's all kinds of nasty things that's being said about him. But I will say this, and I don't even know the details of all that kind of stuff. What I will say is this guy has some pretty solid sources. I've basically found out about him about a year ago, and I follow him, and I'm telling you, this guy is probably more right on stuff than anything else. He has sources and informants everywhere, and he will say something that, he's heard that this is going to happen, and within hours or days, it happens. He said recently that his inside information is saying that they're trying to hold on, get Biden to hold on to the presidency at least until the midterm elections, because they feel that if he was to step down or get impeached or use the 25th Amendment on him, and then of course Kamala would be in charge, that would actually hurt the midterm elections. So they're trying to hold on to it, but he does insinuate that they're even the people that are doing this realize that may be an impossibility to keep Biden in office until the midterm elections. Is all this being done just to get rid of him? Again, that seems a little overdone. Are they just taking advantage of the moment and stepping back and just letting him have it? That seems to me more likely, that the people in charge that have, pushed him into position so that they could, get someone like Kamala or whatever into office, has said, well, okay, we've used him up as much as we need to, and now we're just going to step back and let him hang himself. Figuratively, of course, YouTube censors. Maybe that's it. Maybe it's simply that, of just stepping back and letting him handle it. I don't know. But what I do know is that there's, I'm telling you, it's not just the tragedy that's going on over there. And let me be clear. I was never a fan of being in Afghanistan, and I've been a fan of leaving Afghanistan. That's not the point, and that's what most Americans are right now. It's not that we're leaving Afghanistan. It's the way that we're doing it. It's the way that it's just a complete mess up, to use the most G-rated word I can. It's completely messed up, and it's almost like no one has a clue of what they're doing. In fact, there's reports coming in. Certain people are getting emails and text messages from soldiers on the ground, soldiers and Marines on the ground in Afghanistan at the airport, and they're saying it's chaotic. It's just ridiculous what they're doing and what they're having them do. Nothing was planned, nothing was thought through, and it's just a complete chaos over there. And the videos back that up. The videos and other news reports back that up. So it's very possible that the orchestration in this is simply just to step back, let Biden handle it so he can be the fall guy, and everyone else can kind of wash their hands of it and say, hey, this is what he was wanting us to do. He was the one leading the show. He said that the buck stops with him. Very possible. What's the long-term repercussions of this? Well, we have talked about this before, but I think most importantly, we look weaker and than we've ever looked as a nation. The world is watching this. I mean, this is headline news all over the world. The countries in the G7, they have been outspoken about the mishandling of this. The United Kingdom, Germany, China, and several others, that we have really dropped the ball as a nation, and we look horribly weak. We look incompetent. We look foolish. And so what does that mean on a global stage? It could mean a lot of things. It could mean that if an adversary, wished to invade us or to start a war, maybe not directly with us, but more of a proxy war with another nation, it paints us as being weak, so, they could handle us. So if China wanted to, invade Taiwan, or, Russia wanted to take over some of its old Russian, ex-Russian countries, there's tensions all over the world already before this, and then we come into this scenario and showing how weak we are as a nation. It could definitely affect us on a global stage. I think it could affect us in other ways too, and maybe some of this is a little far-reaching, but in matters of trade, I think it's going to affect us. On a global scale, how we trade with others, a lot of it has to do with our appearance and how we're interpreted across the globe. And if we look very weak, then, when it comes to negotiations, not too many people are going to shudder in fear at America when we say we want it this way or else. Say, for instance, OPEC, they've already thumbed their nose at the president. He was, requesting that OPEC increase its production of oil, since, of course, he pretty much is, with the stroke of a pen, kind of destroyed our energy independence, or our oil independence here in the United States. And what did OPEC do? Not going to happen. Not going to do it. How much other things are going to be happening over the course of the next weeks or months? Trade with China, trade with India, trade with, other nations. Are we going to feel the effects of it? It's very possible. What it boils down to, in my opinion, yes, obviously what's going on is chaotic over there. Obviously it makes everything look bad. Obviously they've just completely dropped the ball. And there's no sign that they have any concern. The information, the misinformation that's been coming out of the White House press team and the Secretary of State and the State Department and their press people, and the Pentagon and their press people, it's ridiculous, the stuff that's been coming out of their mouths. They obviously either have no clue what they're doing, or they're purposely lying to cover up their inabilities to do their job. And maybe it's all of the above. But eventually, you know what they say, stuff runs downhill. And eventually, the things that are happening in our government are going to affect us. We are not shielded from that. Just because you may not have voted for this guy, just because you may not approve of what they're doing, doesn't mean that you are going to be insulated from any global repercussions because of the incompetence in our government. It is going to affect us. And we're seeing already over the past weeks and months, and we've talked about this at length, of the food supplies and the increases of prices, and the supply chain disruptions, and the fact that there are warehouses that aren't able to get their food in, that there's ports that they're not able to unload ships, or they're not able to distribute things, or we're not able to even get the stuff into our ports. All these different problems that are happening. We've got our economy and the Fed and everything that they're doing with interest rates and with reverse repo on the dollar, and just completely dumping more money into the system. We've got the housing market just on the brink of collapse, especially when you consider this, the moratorium. Sorry, my mind went blank. The rent moratorium. And the fact that eventually that's going to stop. Eventually people are going to have to pay rent. And the ones that haven't been paying rent, the landlords are losing their properties. There's so many things happening all at once. And many of us have believed that this Afghanistan is a distraction. And I still believe that it is. I haven't backed away from that. But I also believe that there are things that it's being used, not just as a distraction, but as a way to put America in a weakened state. I'm going to go out on a limb here But I do believe in my heart, and I've come to this conclusion over the last several years, not just recently, that the people on the far left, that the far left in America, whether they from the White House all the way down to the commoners, they really hate America. And I believe that they really want to see our destruction. They want to see us in a weakened state. They would rather us be more like a communist China or something. In fact, polling is now showing that a growing number of Americans would prefer certain aspects of our lives and certain aspects of our government to be run similarly to the communist Chinese. This is insane, okay? So is it possible that all this destruction is being done to bring America more down to her knees? I mean, it would make sense if there's certainly an effort to usher in this great reset and this new world order and the Agenda 2030 and all this kind of stuff. It's hard to implement all of those globalist plans if you have a strong United States. Simple, right? How can you have the United States fall under the command, basically, and the guidance and the leadership and the control of all of these globalist ideas if America is strong, and independent? So bring her to her knees and usher in all of this, ridiculous evil, to put it simply. Is that what's going on? Me, personally, that's what I think. I look at things on a grander scale than just, oh, this is happening just to try to get Biden out of office. Well, why? Well, to get Kamala in office. Well, why? To bring us more to the left. Well, why? And when it all boils down to it, I think what we're seeing happen, the things that are being orchestrated by the elites, by the globalists, by the world leaders, by whatever term you want to use, is being done to weaken America, to bring her to her knees, so that we would be ripe for the picking, that we would be put in a desperate and needy state. And then all of these globalist ideas and agendas will come in and fix everything. So you and I have to be prepared for that. If you believe this, you may not believe it, and that's fine. If you just see what's happening in Afghanistan and see that as a standalone thing on its own, and not, believe or think like I do, of kind of reading between the lines and finding the deeper meaning in things, that's okay. Regardless of that, though, things are probably going to continue to worsen, get crazier. So continue to prepare, continue to stock up, continue to get your houses in order. I know I say this about every video now, but I do it for a reason. I hope that eventually the repetitiveness of it will start to sink in on some of you. And most of you it has. We live in a crazy world. We live in a world that's lost its morality, no moral compass whatsoever. That's just trying to destroy the family. That's trying to destroy everything that's normal and good in our society. Get online for 5 minutes and it'll prove it to you. If what you have right now, your family, your beliefs, your morality is important to you, then you need to do all the things that we talk about on here, preparing yourselves so that you can defend it, so that you can retain it, so that you can protect it. Because I assure you, the world out there, it's coming to get it from you. It's coming to take it from you. It's coming to destroy it, and it's coming to wipe all of that away and make you look like the bad guy. Get your houses in order, folks. Thank you for watching. Catch you in the next video.